It's the final stretch of one of the most thrilling Formula One seasons in recent history. Every second, every decision counts. As the championship teeters on a knife's edge, McLaren, one of the sport's most legendary teams, is now at the center of a massive storm. What if the very component they thought would carry them to victory is now under fire? A single rear wing hailed as innovative and legal has now become the subject of heated controversy. With Red Bull and Ferrari breathing down their necks, a last-minute ruling from the FIA forces McLaren to make a change. Could this be the moment that changes everything? Hold on tight, because what unfolds in the next few minutes might be the key to understanding how a single technical detail could reshape the battle for the title. Is this McLaren's downfall or a mere bump on their road to triumph? Stick around, because we're about to uncover the twists, turns, and high-speed drama that could define this season. McLaren has been walking a tightrope for the last couple of races. After pushing the limits of engineering brilliance, they now face a daunting challenge. They've been forced to modify their rear wing under the intense scrutiny of the FIA. Despite initially being cleared, pressure from their fierce rivals Red Bull and Ferrari has pushed the governing body to reconsider its stance. The rear wing, once deemed legal and integral to McLaren's recent competitive edge, is now the center of controversy. Oscar Piastri, McLaren's rising star, was quick to defend the car when questioned. The car's passed all the tests. It's within the regulations. It's not some magic solution, he declared confidently during the Singapore Grand Prix press conference. But with the FIA's sudden change of heart, McLaren's dominance may be under serious threat. The question hanging in the air is, will this forced adjustment be enough to cripple their performance? And can Red Bull capitalize on this opportunity to secure their lead in the Drivers' Championship? In the days leading up to this decision, one of the most talked about topics in Formula One has been McLaren's rear wing, specifically the flexibility it demonstrated under high-speed loads. Flexibility that, according to McLaren, was perfectly legal and within the permissible limits. But the controversy stems from just how much that flexibility might be giving them an edge. Initially, the FIA supported McLaren's stance, declaring that the flexibility was within allowable parameters. Piastri himself didn't seem fazed, explaining that the team undergoes constant scrutiny and the car passes all the rigorous tests. But now, everything has changed. The FIA has officially mandated adjustments to the rear wing, particularly the DRS flap, for tracks where low downforce is key, like the upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix. This ruling suggests that McLaren's car, which has excelled in high-speed scenarios, may lose some of its edge. Although these changes are unlikely to significantly impact the performance at slower circuits, Red Bull has already chalked up this decision as a win. With just a few races left, this could be the lifeline that secures Red Bull's lead. Yet, questions remain: was McLaren's recent success due to this rear wing innovation? Or is there more under the surface that has propelled them into the top ranks? Red Bull and Ferrari are both counting on this change to slow McLaren down. But will it really be enough to tip the balance? Only time and the next few races will tell. The focus of the F1 world shifted drastically as McLaren's rear wing caught everyone's attention, but now the spotlight is on something even more critical: the FIA's sudden intervention. While McLaren had defended their design and passed every test, the governing body's recent decision to force changes to their rear wing design, particularly on circuits demanding low downforce, has shaken the foundation of McLaren's strategy. The next few races, especially in Las Vegas, are set to reveal whether this ruling will impact their performance as much as their rivals hope. But here's where it gets interesting: the changes the FIA is demanding seem to target specific moments when McLaren's rear wing is under immense pressure at high speeds. The alleged flexing of the rear wing didn't occur constantly. It only revealed itself in precise parts of high-speed tracks where the wing absorbed tremendous load. This subtle difference might be enough to shift the dynamics of the entire championship. With Las Vegas and a few other circuits lacking these high-speed sections, McLaren may still be able to navigate around the ruling without losing significant ground. However, this decision isn't just about the technicalities, it's about power plays in the championship. Red Bull, having voiced their concern for weeks, sees this as a critical moment in the battle for dominance. This ruling could very well be the break they need, a crucial blow that might slow McLaren down just enough to allow Red Bull to maintain their hold on the Drivers' Championship. Ferrari, too, is watching closely, as they've also felt the heat from McLaren's sudden surge in performance. The FIA's official statement confirmed the reasons behind their decision, citing data gathered from the Baku Grand Prix. One crucial detail stood out: the difference in top speed when McLaren's DRS drag reduction system was open and when it wasn't was among the smallest on the grid, just a 16 km/h gap compared to other cars. This tiny difference suggested that McLaren's rear wing might be giving them an edge, especially in those crucial high-speed sections. The governing body, always wary of anything that could upset the balance of competition, stepped in. What's more, the FIA made it clear that they are closely monitoring every team's car, not just McLaren. Their statement emphasized that they retain the right to demand modifications from any team if necessary. While McLaren's car had passed all deflection tests up to this point, it's the flexing under real race conditions that raised eyebrows. With new data in hand, the FIA now believes further action is necessary to maintain fairness across the grid. This puts McLaren in a tricky position. While they've maintained that everything they've done is within the rules, and Piastri himself has been adamant that there's nothing unusual about the car, the FIA's ruling casts doubt over whether their success has been purely down to engineering skill, or if they've crossed a line even unknowingly. The next few races will be a test not just of McLaren's car, but of their resilience as a team. Despite the FIA's ruling, McLaren seems unfazed, and why wouldn't they be? After all, their engineers have crafted a car that has consistently passed every test and pushed the boundaries of what's possible within the rules. In the world of Formula One, it's a game of innovation. Teams are constantly walking a fine line between genius and bending the rules just enough without breaking them. And McLaren, according to their team principal, Zak Brown, has done nothing more than find an edge, just like every top team strives to do. Zak Brown has been vocal about his confidence in the team's approach. Reflecting on the recent controversy, his stance mirrors that of Oscar Piastri. Brown firmly believes McLaren's engineers have found something truly special, a breakthrough that has passed all the required tests and complied with every regulation. As far as McLaren is concerned, they've done everything by the book, and it's no surprise that their rivals are uneasy. This is Formula One, Brown declared. It's clever engineering, and it passed the tests. Good on our team for coming up with something innovative. But that's the nature of Formula One. Teams who lead the pack are always under scrutiny. When you're at the top, every other team is hunting for a weakness or an irregularity, something they can use to challenge your advantage. McLaren knows this all too well, and Brown wasn't shy in addressing it. He noted that as McLaren ascends the ranks and edges closer to the top of the championship standings, rival teams will do whatever they can to sow doubt, raise suspicions, and challenge the legitimacy of their success. Brown's confidence is shared throughout the McLaren camp. The engineers are certain that the rear wing design falls within the regulations, and they're not about to back down. The rear wing passed every test, and our team is fully aware of everything on that car, Brown continued. We're comfortable with it, and we're leading the championship now. That's why everyone is looking at our car with suspicion. It's part of the game. And so McLaren marches forward, but the lingering question remains: has the FIA's ruling thrown a wrench into their plans? The next race will be the true test. While the ruling may not immediately impact the car's performance on tracks with less emphasis on high-speed sections, the long-term implications of the rear wing changes could be significant. With each passing race, the pressure on McLaren only grows, and their ability to adapt quickly could be the key to holding on to their advantage. But there's more at stake here than just the rear wing. The psychological game is in full swing. Red Bull, Ferrari, and the other top teams know that if they can throw McLaren off balance, even just slightly, it could be enough to turn the tide in the championship race. As the final races loom, the battle is not just on the track, but behind the scenes as well, where strategy, regulation interpretations, and technical innovations all collide. As the FIA's ruling reverberates through the paddock, the question on everyone's mind is whether these changes will truly impact McLaren's performance. While the modifications to the rear wing are specific to tracks like Las Vegas, which have low downforce requirements, there's an underlying tension about whether this is the beginning of a broader clampdown on McLaren's innovations. For now, McLaren remains confident, but the true effects won't be felt until we see them on the track. Red Bull, on the other hand, sees this as a pivotal moment. For them, this ruling could very well be the key to clinching the Drivers' Championship. With McLaren's rear wing under scrutiny and forced to change, Red Bull might finally have the upper hand. It's no secret that Red Bull has been pushing for this ruling for weeks. They've watched as McLaren surged ahead, wondering if that rear wing was giving them an unfair advantage. Now that the FIA has stepped in, Red Bull is celebrating a victory one that could make all the difference in these final races. But let's not forget the broader implications of this decision. In an official statement from the FIA, they justified the ban on McLaren's flexible wing by referencing the data they gathered at the Baku Grand Prix. The difference in top speed between McLaren's car with and without the DRS open was smaller than any other team on the grid, just a 16 km/h difference. That might seem like a minor detail, but in Formula One, those small margins are everything. When you're fighting for tenths of a second on every lap, a detail like that could change the course of a race, or even an entire season. The FIA also made it clear that they are closely monitoring the flexibility of bodywork on all the cars, not just McLaren's. Their statement emphasized that they have the right to request changes from any team, at any time during the season, should they find any irregularities. This announcement has put the entire grid on high alert. Even teams who believe they are compliant with the regulations are now second-guessing their designs, wondering if the FIA's ever watchful eye might turn toward them next. For McLaren, this adds yet another layer of complexity to an already pressure-filled situation. While they may be comfortable with their car's design for now, the reality is that in Formula One, you're never truly safe. The FIA's decision to enforce changes to the rear wing suggests that even a team's smallest advantage can be scrutinized and potentially taken away at any point in the season. And as other teams like Red Bull and Ferrari celebrate this ruling, McLaren is left to grapple with the uncertainty of how it will affect them in the races to come. But for Red Bull, this ruling is more than just a technical win, it's a psychological victory. By pressuring the FIA into forcing McLaren to make these changes, they've managed to knock their rivals off balance. Even if the modifications don't drastically change McLaren's performance in the upcoming races, Red Bull has succeeded in planting a seed of doubt. The mental game in Formula One is just as critical as the physical one, and Red Bull knows that every bit of uncertainty in McLaren's camp could tip the scales in their favor. As we head into the final stages of the season, the stakes couldn't be higher. McLaren, despite their confidence, is now facing a potential shift in momentum. Red Bull, emboldened by the FIA's ruling, will be pushing harder than ever to secure their lead in the championship. And the rest of the grid? They'll be watching closely, wondering if McLaren's ingenuity can still carry them to victory, or if this ruling will mark the beginning of the end for their championship hopes. With the FIA's ruling now firmly in place, the spotlight turns to McLaren and how they'll respond on the track. While Zak Brown and his team remain publicly calm, there's no doubt that behind the scenes, engineers are scrambling to ensure that the rear wing modifications don't cost them crucial performance. Formula One is a sport where the smallest details can have the biggest consequences, and McLaren knows that even the slightest dip in performance could open the door for Red Bull to storm ahead. Red Bull, meanwhile, isn't letting up. They're not content with just the rear wing ruling. Behind closed doors, they're already looking ahead to what else might give McLaren an edge and where they might apply further pressure. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, has made it clear that they aren't just targeting McLaren's rear wing. Their focus is now shifting to McLaren's front wing, which they suspect also possesses a degree of flexibility that could be bending the rules. This strategic move shows that Red Bull is playing a long game. They're not just focused on the races ahead, but on how they can keep McLaren under the FIA's microscope for the remainder of the season. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, has been vocal about this next step. In a recent interview, Marko revealed that Red Bull had already protested McLaren's rear wing 3 times before the FIA finally took action. "We think McLaren's front wing is the next target," he said confidently. "We will be looking into it very closely, and we're expecting the FIA to take the necessary steps." For Red Bull, it's not just about performance on the track, it's about disrupting McLaren's rhythm, throwing them off balance in any way they can. This isn't the first time that Red Bull has pushed for changes during a season, and it's certainly not the last. They've made it clear that they're willing to challenge any component of McLaren's car if they think it gives their rivals an unfair advantage. And in Formula One, where every team is constantly seeking a technical edge, no part of the car is off limits. Whether it's the rear wing, front wing, or any other component, Red Bull will pursue any avenue that could neutralize McLaren's innovations. But it's not just Red Bull in this fight. Ferrari, too, has been quietly supportive of Red Bull's protests. The Italian team, struggling to keep up with McLaren's recent form, knows that any ruling against McLaren could bring them back into contention. Ferrari team principal Fred Vasseur has been diplomatic in his public comments, saying that the responsibility for ruling on McLaren's car lies with the FIA, not with other teams. Yet, Ferrari has shared the same frustrations as Red Bull, especially after the close racing scene in Baku. "We have to trust the FIA to make the right decision," Vasseur said, but it's clear that Ferrari is just as eager for McLaren's wings to be clipped literally and figuratively. As the season approaches its climax, the pressure is mounting. The final races will be a battlefield, not just for drivers but for engineers and team strategists as well. McLaren is walking a tightrope. They need to ensure that their car remains competitive while complying with the FIA's increasingly strict scrutiny. At the same time, Red Bull and Ferrari are doing everything they can to make sure McLaren doesn't have an inch of breathing room. The mental aspect of the sport cannot be underestimated either. While McLaren is focused on maintaining their pace on the track, the psychological warfare being waged by their rivals is equally intense. By continually questioning the legality of McLaren's innovations, Red Bull and Ferrari are looking to destabilize the team, to plant seeds of doubt that could shake their confidence when it matters most. As the tension continues to build, McLaren faces more than just technical challenges. They are up against the relentless pursuit of Red Bull and Ferrari, both on and off the track. With just a few races remaining, every decision counts. The FIA's intervention may have forced McLaren to tweak their rear wing, but the psychological games being played behind the scenes are just as critical. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko from Red Bull are keenly aware that keeping McLaren under scrutiny is a way to keep them distracted and potentially destabilized. For McLaren, the focus is now on proving that they can remain competitive despite the enforced changes. The DRS flap, which was the core of the controversy, may no longer offer the same advantage it once did, but McLaren's engineers are no strangers to adversity. They've been working around the clock to ensure that the performance of the MCL38 doesn't falter in the crucial final races. The upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix, with its low downforce demands, is expected to be a testing ground for these changes. However, as Red Bull pushes the FIA to also look into the flexibility of McLaren's front wing, the pressure on the Woking base squad is mounting. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, has suggested that if McLaren's front wing is found to have any form of illegal flexing, they could face even more severe consequences. Red Bull's relentless pursuit of technical protests shows just how crucial these final races are. Every point matters, and any advantage McLaren holds, no matter how small, is seen as a threat. Ferrari is equally invested in this fight. Fred Vasseur and his team are eager to see McLaren lose any competitive edge they might have. Ferrari, who have been chasing Red Bull and McLaren for much of the season, hope that any ruling against McLaren could level the playing field and bring them back into serious contention for race wins. The frustration in the Ferrari camp has been evident. Vasseur's comments about trusting the FIA reflect the Italian team's anxiety. They know that if McLaren's car is deemed fully legal, it could close the door on their chances of securing a top spot in the championship. Meanwhile, McLaren continues to insist that their car is fully within the regulations. Zak Brown has remained steadfast, supporting his engineers and drivers and pushing back against the idea that McLaren has done anything wrong. "These are clever engineers," Brown said, "and we're proud of what we've achieved. Every part of our car has been tested, and we're confident that it meets the standards set by the FIA." His confidence, however, is being tested as the FIA begins to look more closely at the rest of the car, not just the rear wing. For McLaren, the remaining races are not just about maintaining their pace, they are about holding their nerve. The team knows that every decision they make will be scrutinized, every innovation questioned. The ongoing controversy surrounding the rear wing has cast a shadow over their achievements this season, but it has also fueled their determination. If McLaren can weather this storm and continue to perform, it will solidify their place as one of the most resilient and innovative teams on the grid. Yet, as the final races loom, the competition is fiercer than ever. With Red Bull and Ferrari applying constant pressure, McLaren's fate rests not just in their engineering, but in their ability to stay focused amid the chaos. The FIA's next move could tip the balance one way or another, but for now, McLaren is determined to fight until the very last lap. As we move into the final stretch of the season, it's clear that McLaren is facing one of the most pivotal moments in their recent history. Despite the controversy, they're holding firm, but they know that the pressure from their rivals is relentless. Red Bull, with their aggressive protests, has already claimed a small victory by forcing the FIA to mandate changes to the rear wing. Now, they've set their sights on McLaren's front wing, and Ferrari is right behind them, pushing for the same. For McLaren, this battle isn't just about engineering, it's about survival. At the heart of McLaren's challenge is their ability to maintain performance without falling foul of the FIA's ever-tightening grip. The upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix race will be crucial. It's one of the few circuits left where the rear wing modifications are expected to have a noticeable effect due to the low downforce nature of the track. McLaren's engineers, already hard at work, are confident that the changes won't significantly hinder the MCL38. But in Formula One, where the smallest details can make or break a race, there's no guarantee. Zak Brown knows that this isn't just about the car, it's about keeping the team focused. McLaren is being watched more closely than ever, with every move they make being scrutinized by both the FIA and their competitors. Brown's leadership will be key in ensuring that his drivers Piastri and Norris can push through the distractions and keep their eyes on the prize. "We're leading the championship for a reason," Brown said recently. "It's not just about the car, it's about the team, the strategy, and the way we've approached every race this season." Red Bull, however, is playing a different game. With Christian Horner and Helmut Marko pulling the strings, they are leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of McLaren. Marko, in particular, has been vocal about his belief that McLaren's success comes from bending the rules. He's convinced that McLaren's front wing will be the next point of contention, and he's determined to see the FIA take action. "We've seen this before," Marko said. "A team pushes the boundaries, and we will keep pushing until the FIA addresses it." Ferrari's involvement has added another layer of complexity. They've been trailing behind Red Bull and McLaren for much of the season, but this controversy presents an opportunity for them. Fred Vasseur's calm exterior masks the urgency within Ferrari to seize any opportunity to disrupt McLaren's momentum. Ferrari's own performance hasn't been enough to challenge for the championship directly, but if McLaren stumbles, Ferrari could see themselves back in the fight. Meanwhile, McLaren's drivers are doing their best to block out the noise. Oscar Piastri, in his rookie season, has shown incredible composure amid the turmoil. "It's not the wing that's made us competitive," Piastri said during a press conference. "It's the work we've put in as a team." His confidence reflects a deep belief that McLaren's success is not just about the rear wing, but about the entire package that they've developed. Lando Norris, too, has echoed these sentiments, remaining focused on securing as many points as possible in the final races. Yet, the shadow of uncertainty looms large. The FIA has made it clear that they are watching every team, and while McLaren has passed all the tests so far, there's no telling when or if another ruling might come down. If the FIA decides to take a closer look at the front wing or any other part of the car, it could spell trouble for McLaren's championship hopes. For now, they must continue to walk the fine line between innovation and compliance, all while fending off the psychological warfare being waged by their rivals. As the final races draw near, one thing is certain: this season will be remembered not just for the on-track battles, but for the behind-the-scenes drama that has engulfed the teams. McLaren may be leading the championship for now, but their position has never been more precarious. With Red Bull and Ferrari pushing hard, and the FIA keeping a close eye, the next few races will determine whether McLaren can hold on to their lead or if their rivals will finally find a way to bring them down. As the season reaches its climax, the tension in the paddock is palpable. McLaren knows that every race from here on out could be the difference between clinching the championship and watching it slip away. With the FIA keeping a close eye on their every move and Red Bull and Ferrari relentlessly pushing for further investigations, the pressure on McLaren is unlike anything they've faced all year. The next few races will not only test their engineering but their mental fortitude as well. Las Vegas is fast approaching, and it's a circuit where the modifications to McLaren's rear wing could play a significant role. Unlike the previous tracks, Las Vegas demands a different aerodynamic setup, one that favors low downforce. This could be the moment when the changes enforced by the FIA start to make a real impact. If McLaren can navigate through these challenges and still come out on top, it will be a testament to the strength of their car and their team. But McLaren isn't just worried about Las Vegas. The threat from Red Bull is looming larger than ever. Christian Horner's team has already chalked up the rear wing ruling as a victory, but they aren't stopping there. With their focus now shifting to McLaren's front wing, Red Bull is doubling down on their strategy of keeping McLaren under constant scrutiny. For Horner and his team, this is a battle that extends beyond the track. Every technical protest, every challenge to McLaren's legality, is another opportunity to throw them off balance and gain an advantage. Helmut Marko has been particularly aggressive in his public statements, making it clear that Red Bull will not rest until every aspect of McLaren's car has been examined. We have a championship to win, and if McLaren's success is built on bending the rules, then it needs to be addressed, Marko said. His words carry weight. Red Bull's strategy has always been to play hard both on and off the track. By pushing the FIA to investigate every possible loophole in McLaren's design, they're hoping to gain any edge they can in the final races. Ferrari, too, is not staying silent. Fred Vasseur and his team, though quieter in their public statements, have been working behind the scenes to support Red Bull's efforts. Ferrari knows that they need to seize every opportunity to disrupt McLaren's momentum if they hope to salvage their season. With only a few races left, Ferrari's hopes for a strong finish rest on whether McLaren falters under the weight of these technical challenges. The Italian team is banking on the fact that any ruling against McLaren could give them the breathing room they need to mount a late-season comeback. And then there are McLaren's drivers. For Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris, the focus remains on racing. They're fully aware of the controversy surrounding their car, but on the track, their mission is clear: stay fast, stay competitive, and block out the noise. It's easy to get caught up in the off-track drama, Norris said recently, but at the end of the day, it's our performance on the track that matters. His teammate, Piastri, echoed that sentiment, adding, "The car is quick, the team is focused, and we're here to win." Despite the distractions, McLaren's drivers have shown remarkable resilience. Piastri, in particular, has proven himself to be unflappable in his rookie season. With the weight of expectation on his shoulders, he's handled the pressure with maturity beyond his years. But the stakes are rising, and as the championship battle heats up, both Piastri and Norris will need to be at their best to keep McLaren in the fight. The next few races will determine everything. If McLaren can hold their ground and continue to perform at the highest level, they have a real shot at securing the championship. But with Red Bull and Ferrari closing in, and the FIA's ruling still hanging over their heads, the road ahead is anything but easy. Every lap, every corner, every pit stop will be crucial. The smallest mistake could be the one that costs McLaren the title. As the lights go out in Las Vegas and the cars roar into action, the world will be watching to see if McLaren can defy the odds and overcome the mounting pressure. Will they prove that their success is built on brilliance, or will their rivals succeed in exposing a weakness that brings their title hopes crashing down? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure: this season's finale is set to be one for the history books. As the sun sets on the streets of Las Vegas and the cars line up on the grid, the weight of the entire season rests on this race. For McLaren, everything hinges on how they perform here. The rear wing modifications, enforced by the FIA, are now fully in play, and the uncertainty surrounding how it will affect the car's performance is palpable. The entire F1 world is watching, waiting to see if McLaren will maintain their competitive edge or falter under the pressure that Red Bull and Ferrari have relentlessly applied. In the garages, the tension is thick. Engineers huddle over their laptops, analyzing data in real time, while Zak Brown walks the pit lane with the calm demeanor of a man who knows what's at stake. He understands that the next few hours could define McLaren's entire season. A strong finish here in Las Vegas would silence their critics and reaffirm their position as title contenders. A slip, however, could open the door for Red Bull and Ferrari to claw their way back into the championship battle. For Red Bull, this race represents more than just another opportunity to score points. It's a moment of reckoning. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko know that if McLaren manages to remain competitive despite the rear wing changes, it could spell trouble for their own title aspirations. That's why Red Bull has continued to press the FIA on McLaren's front wing, hoping that another ruling might swing the momentum in their favor. As the race begins, all eyes are on Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Both drivers have been exceptional under pressure this season, but the stakes have never been higher. Piastri, in his rookie year, has already proven that he can handle the intensity of Formula One, but the Las Vegas Grand Prix will be his biggest test yet. Every decision he makes on track will be critical. Norris, the more experienced of the two, has shown flashes of brilliance throughout the season. His ability to stay calm and deliver under pressure will be crucial for McLaren's hopes. The first few laps unfold, and it quickly becomes clear that the modifications to the rear wing haven't crippled McLaren as much as their rivals had hoped. Piastri and Norris are both holding their own, battling at the front of the pack with Red Bull's drivers. The car, though slightly altered, is still quick, perhaps not as dominant in the high-speed sections, but McLaren's engineering team has found ways to mitigate the impact of the FIA's ruling. The upgrades and tweaks they've implemented seem to be paying off. But the race is far from over, and Red Bull isn't giving up without a fight. Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez are pushing hard, determined to close the gap. Meanwhile, Ferrari's Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz are lurking in the background, waiting for their chance to capitalize on any mistake from the frontrunners. Every lap brings new challenges, and the margin for error is razor thin. As the laps tick down, McLaren finds itself in a fierce battle for the lead. The changes to the rear wing have made certain sections of the track more challenging, but Piastri and Norris are driving with precision, extracting every bit of performance they can from the car. The modifications may have slowed them down slightly, but McLaren's resilience is shining through. The final laps of the race are heart-stopping. Red Bull is throwing everything they have at McLaren, trying to force a mistake, but Piastri and Norris remain unfazed. The strategy from the pit wall is flawless, and both drivers execute their final pit stops with perfect timing. As they rejoin the race, it becomes clear that McLaren is still very much in the fight. With just a few corners left, the outcome is still uncertain. McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari are all within striking distance of the podium, and it will come down to the final moments. Every fan in the stands, every team member in the garage, and every viewer at home is on the edge of their seat, waiting to see how this race, and perhaps the entire championship, will end. The tension is at an all-time high as the final laps of the Las Vegas Grand Prix unfold. McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari are locked in an intense battle for the podium, each team desperate to capitalize on any slip-up by their rivals. For McLaren, this race could solidify their championship lead, but for Red Bull and Ferrari, it's a chance to close the gap and keep their hopes alive. Oscar Piastri, in the race of his young career, is driving with laser focus. He knows that every second counts, and any mistake could cost him not only the race but potentially the championship. Lando Norris is right behind him, acting as a buffer between McLaren and the charging Red Bulls. The teamwork between the two drivers is flawless. They are working in perfect harmony, defending their positions while still pushing to the limit. As the cars approach the final corners, the outcome of the race hangs in the balance. Max Verstappen is right on Norris's tail, looking for an opening, but Norris's defensive driving is impeccable. Up ahead, Piastri is battling Charles Leclerc, who has made a late charge for the lead. The Ferrari is fast on the straights, but McLaren's superior cornering speed keeps Piastri in the fight. The last lap begins, and the entire grid is on the edge of their seats. McLaren's engineers are glued to the monitors, watching every split second, every sector time. Zak Brown, standing trackside, is visibly tense, knowing that the next few moments could define their entire season. Red Bull's pit wall is equally intense. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko are urging their drivers to push, hoping for one last opportunity to snatch victory. As the cars enter the final sector, it's Piastri who leads, with Leclerc and Verstappen close behind. The straightaway is where Ferrari's power shines, and Leclerc is gaining on Piastri. But in the corners, the McLaren holds its ground, and Piastri expertly navigates through the bends, defending his position. The crowd is on their feet, witnessing one of the closest finishes of the season. In the final corner, Piastri makes no mistakes. He holds his line, and as he accelerates toward the checkered flag, Leclerc and Verstappen are just behind him. But it's too late for them to make a move. Piastri crosses the line first, securing victory for McLaren. Norris finishes just behind in fourth, managing to fend off Verstappen in the last moments. The McLaren garage erupts in celebration. After weeks of controversy, scrutiny, and intense pressure, they've done it. The victory is a massive statement. Not only have they proven that the rear wing changes didn't cripple their performance, but they've also shown the world that McLaren is here to fight until the very end. Zak Brown embraces the engineers, the team, and his drivers, knowing that this win is more than just a race. It's a declaration that McLaren's title challenge is stronger than ever. For Red Bull and Ferrari, the result is a bitter pill to swallow. Despite all their efforts to disrupt McLaren's momentum, the Woking-based team has come out on top. Christian Horner and Helmut Marko, though disappointed, know that the battle isn't over yet. With only a few races remaining, there's still time for things to change, but McLaren's victory in Las Vegas has given them the upper hand. As Piastri steps onto the podium, holding his trophy high, the magnitude of his achievement sinks in. In his rookie season, he has faced more challenges than most drivers experience in their entire careers, yet he has remained unshaken. This victory is not just his, it belongs to McLaren, to Zak Brown, to the entire team that has fought tooth and nail to stay at the front of the pack. But the season isn't over. The FIA's scrutiny will continue, and Red Bull and Ferrari will keep pushing, both on the track and behind the scenes. The next few races will be decisive, and every point, every second will matter. McLaren may have won this battle, but the war for the championship is far from finished. As the celebrations wind down, the reality sets in. McLaren is on the brink of something extraordinary. The question is, can they keep up this momentum and withstand the relentless pressure from their rivals? Only time will tell, but one thing is clear: McLaren has proven they belong at the top, and they're ready to fight until the very last race.